We're here at OYE Magazine, and we're about to meet one of its founders, Cesar Recendez. Cesar, can you tell us a little bit about OYE Magazine?
Basically, OYE stands for Open Your Eyes, as well as Oye, the word in Spanish, which means hey, listen. And it is the only Latino men's magazine in America. It's a cutting-edge, hip magazine that covers fashion, culture, politics, business, pretty much all the issues that most men's magazines like GQ or Maxim might cover, but it's specifically written for Latino men.
So what inspired you to start OYE Magazine?
We really felt that there are so many stories, and we still do, that there are so many stories out there that relate to our culture, Latinos, our heritage, that are really commonly overlooked and ignored, and we wanted to get those out there and to create this voice.
As a Latino, what do you think were your greatest obstacles in putting this magazine together?
Starting the magazine was very difficult because we didn't take the route which other startup magazines take, which is try to find support from maybe a big publishing company and get funded that way. We didn't want to do that because we wanted to have control, and what that meant was that we had to find our own funding, basically find investors and raise the capital that we needed, to get this thing off the ground, and knock on door after door after door, and have many of them slammed in our face. But we really knew that there was a need for this magazine, and we basically stuck it out.
So can you tell our viewers how you put an issue of OYE Magazine together?
Basically, it all starts here, where we have our editorial calendar up on the board, and the first thing we have to do is come up with the story ideas and decide what stories we want to cover, what issues are out there, what's going on. After that, then we just basically assign all the stories to all the different writers and photographers and create some magic for us. And once the photographers and writers are done, they give us everything back. We look at what they've done, we throw away the bad stuff, we keep the good stuff, and the next step is basically laying out the magazine. Our great graphic designer puts it all together and starts laying it out on screen into basically what you see here. What happens from there, we take the files on disc, they go to our film house and they run them to film, and from there the film goes to the presses way out far away from here, and the magazine comes back to us like this.
So how do you decide who to put on the cover?
Basically, we try to find hot chicks for the cover. No, I'm just kidding. No, basically, we try to find, one of the things about OYE is that we try to stay on the cutting edge, and on the verge is one of the phrases we use here. So we like to look for talent or people, stars that are up and coming, about to break big, and obviously we want it to be someone that's not too unknown, somewhat recognizable, so that it'll still help us sell magazines, since the cover is very important to selling the magazine.
So tell us a little bit about where you're from and just your background.
Yeah, I was born in Mexico, in Zacatecas, and I was brought over here against my will when I was 10 months old, when I didn't have much say. My parents immigrated when I was only about less than a year old. And I grew up in Los Angeles, what some people might call the ghetto or the inner city.
I read that you went to Stanford, and I was just wondering, how were you able to accomplish that?
I'll tell you a funny story of how I got on the track to going to Stanford. When I first got to high school, when I was in junior high, I was actually pretty much hanging out with the wrong kids, and even gangs were starting to become kind of a part of my life. And I have to thank the teacher who believed in me. She must have seen something, or I'm not sure what it was, but she took me out of my class, and out of her class, and wrote a note to my counselor and said, put this student in AP biology. At the time, I had no idea what AP meant, so I was like, okay, I get a hall pass, I'm going on. And when I got to that class, I quickly realized that I had been put in with the nerds. When I got to the class, I was considered an outsider. I was considered more like one of the thugs, and people kind of didn't expect me to do well. So that week, what I did, the week that I was in that class, I just studied really hard, and at the end of the week there was a test, and I ended up getting like the highest score on the test. And then the teacher read out my name, and everyone was like, wait a minute, What's this guy doing the high score on the test?
What advice do you have for our young Latinos out there?
I think part of the problem is when you grow up in an environment where not that many people are going to college or going on to successful careers, is that you almost don't believe it. You hear about it and you see it on TV or you see it in the movies, but it's not part of your environment. So a lot of times you know it's out there, but you don't believe it's possible for yourself. I like to give kids a personal message and let them know that it is possible, and that with hard work there is really nothing they can't accomplish in this country. So I think, yeah, that's basically it.